The girls in the school were going crazy. Apparently, the new student is oh so handsome. The moment the boy walked in and was introduced, every girl's heart started pounding. The room got hotter, and let's be honest, the girls got wet. The guys, on the other hand, not so thrilled. Let's just call it what it is. Pure jalousie. The teacher points to an empty seat and the kid who looks like a rejected Scooby-Doo character. Oh, he was practically green with envy. He gives his buddy a little signal. Time for a prank. The plan was simple. As a new kid walks by, stick out a foot. Watch him trip. And just like that, total humiliation in front of everyone. Genius, right? But here's the thing. They didn't count on the new kid. He saw it coming, and he just stopped right in front of him. Lee Jae-hing thought his timing was perfect. Oops, it didn't work. Our protagonist just stares him down ice cold. So Jae-hing asks, "Who do you think you're looking at?" No one, and I mean no one, could possibly guess what was going through the new kid's mind as he just stared in complete silence. That's when the teacher chimed in. "Why did you stop all of a sudden?" Ijin just smiles. He apologizes. So polite, and keeps on walking. Jing thought to himself, he got scared of me. His friend agreed, thinking, guess the new kid isn't so tough after all. What these boys didn't know is that in the moment Ijin stopped, he remembered a piece of advice from the major. When you go back to Korea, Ajuin don't get involved in fights. The major knew. Ijin is a natural-born strategist. Every single move is calculated. And honestly, he feared that about him. When the protagonist finally sat down, the boy next to him, a kid named Park Young-chan, greeted him and then gave him a warning. Watch out for those guys. They're the bullies who run this school. You should avoid them. The next few classes went by, and Ian felt something strange. Normal boys in a normal school. Another kid talking about his favorite webtoon. It was peaceful, comfortable. In his memories, no moment was ever like this. Every moment was running in the rain with his life on the line. The training was hell. So many years of it, it made him cold. When he closes his eyes, he can still feel those days. But when he opens them again, this peace, it's wonderful. But while his life was peace and quiet, in another classroom, a girl, Ijin's sister, didn't know what peace was. She was happy, of course. Her brother was finally home after being missing for 10 years. But a blonde girl walked up to her, yanking her from her thoughts. "Hey, Dune, I need your gym clothes for class today." Dune had her clothes, but she couldn't just give them away, or she'd have none. The girl just laughed a nasty, mocking laugh. Then she did something that got everyone's attention. A loud slap across Dawn's face. Dune didn't have the right to ask questions or disobey an order. This was her daily life. Her classmates did nothing, absolutely nothing to protect her. And she just didn't have the courage. When it was time to go home, she noticed her brother. He had gone to her school, and he was waiting for her. She's a little surprised for a second, and asks if he was waiting for her. He says, yeah, he was hoping they could walk home together. He also says that if she has other plans, she could just go ahead without him. Dion quickly looks around and says she doesn't have any other plans, but you can tell she's still super nervous about walking with him. Jin then says that if she's not busy, they'll just walk home together. In the end, she agrees. A little later, they're walking down the street next to each other, and it's obviously awkward for both of them. Jin tries to break the tension by asking her if she feels awkward too. Dian is surprised he asked and quickly says she's not, but Jin tells her it's okay because he feels pretty awkward himself. Luckily, that seems to make her chill out a bit. Jin then tells her that he was only 9 when the accident happened, so he doesn't really remember much about his family, including her. He says it must be weird for her, too, since she was only 7 and probably doesn't remember a lot either. Dawn doesn't say anything because he's right. Right then, she hears some voices she recognizes from around the corner, and she just freezes. When Dion looks to see who it is, she sees one of the girls that was bullying her earlier in class. Turns out she's friends with the blonde girl who slapped Dawn at school. This new bully spots Dawn right away and starts yelling at her. Dawn starts freaking out, sweating, and not knowing what to do. One of the dudes with the bully asks who Dean is. The bully says she's the girl that Hoojin, the blonde psycho from earlier, hates. Then she sees Jin with Jin and starts making fun of her, asking if that's her boyfriend. She then says something nasty, like she didn't know could get dates. Dawn gets super shy and quickly tries to explain that Jin is just her brother. The bully is actually surprised by this since she had no idea Dawn even had a brother. After hearing all that trash talk, Jin asks Dawn if this girl is her friend. Dian quietly says yeah, they're in the same homeroom. But the bully just keeps going, calling Diana again and asking since when they were friends. Dawn is shaking while the bully keeps running her mouth. Jin just gives the girl an ice-cold stare, the kind that could freeze you solid. The guy sitting next to the bully doesn't like Jin's death glare at all. He gets pissed and tells Jin to watch it or he'll get messed up. Jin just keeps staring, which makes the fatty even madder. The bully girl starts hyping him up, trying to get him to fight Jin. Finally, the fatty loses his cool and walks right up to Jin. Jin quickly pushes Dion behind him and gets in the guy's face. This stupid head asks if Jin is trying to act all tough for his sister. Jin sees right away how clueless this guy is, standing so close with all his weak spots totally exposed. What's even funnier is that the fatty doesn't have any weapons on him. Jin can't help but think this guy is an idiot for leaving himself so open. But then he remembers what Major Kong told him about not fighting. Jin sighs, looks away, and just tries to walk off, but the fatty isn't having it. He grabs Jin by the collar and pulls his hand back, ready to slap him. Before he can, Dawn runs in between them. She bows her head and tries to explain to the bullies that Jin has been living abroad and doesn't know how things work in Korea. The main bully girl just laughs at Dion for begging, while Dion keeps shaking in fear. The fatty just yells at Dion, saying he doesn't care where Jin lived. Seeing his sister so scared and trembling totally sets Jin off. He grabs the fatty's wrist and twists it. The dude starts crying out in pain, even though Jin barely did anything. Jin then drops his bag and takes off his school jacket. He calmly tells his sister to wait and covers her face with his jacket, telling her it'll be over in a minute. Just then, the loudmouth thug charges him from behind. Jin just spins around like it's nothing and smacks the guy right across the face. That one slap sends the thug flying backwards, spitting blood before he hits the ground like a sack of potatoes. The bully girl and the other goon are so freaked out they look like they're about to wet their pants. Meanwhile, Jin sighs, bummed that he broke his promise to Major Kong. But hey, it's not really his fault. That fatty bastard was asking for it. The other goon is so scared he's second-guessing, even breathing in Jin's direction. The scene then cuts to the countryside where we see soldiers training like crazy. Major Kong is there watching over everything. Another soldier comes up and reminds Kong that it's Jin's first day of school. Hearing that, Major Kong starts to worry. Even though he taught Jin for 6 months how to live a normal life, he's scared Jin won't be able to adjust after so many years as a merc. Still, Kong is proud and hopes the lessons he taught will help Jin out about that. Turns out Major Kang's lessons didn't stick because Jin is out here treating these bullies like absolute trash. The other bullies just stare in shock at the fatty, who's knocked out cold on the ground with his eyes rolled back in his head. The bully girl and her buddy are shaking as Jin walks over to them. In a split second, Jin lunges and hits the other thug with a monster punch to the gut, sending the guy flying before he slams on the ground. The cocky girl's jaw is on the floor. She can't believe what she's seeing. When Jin turns to look at her, his death stare makes her tremble. Dean pulls the jacket off her face, her hands shaking as she sees the two thugs totally knocked out. It's only been a minute, but Jin notices his sister is watching. He gives the cocky girl one last scary look and then walks away from her. He turns to Dean and says sorry for suddenly covering her face. That just makes things more awkward for Dean. So Jin tries to make it better by asking if she wants to get snacks from her favorite spot. Dean mumbles that it's fine and they don't have to, so Jin just says they should head home. Then as Dion and Jin get all friendly, the bully girl is just standing there totally freaked out. She's shocked that this dude who was so scary a second ago is now acting like a super sweet big brother. As they walk away, Dean gives the bully one last little wave, leaving her just standing there completely terrified. On the way home, Dean asks Jin if he was the one who took out those two guys. Jin says, yeah, which just makes her more curious about him since he doesn't seem like a fighter. She then tells him that in Korea, staring at people like he did is considered rude and can cause problems. Jin agrees and adds that looking someone in the eye can be a bad idea, depending on who it is, just like where he came from. Dean is confused and asks why he stared at those thugs. Then Jin just says he saw that she was scared and wanted to protect her. Dion is totally surprised by his answers and just looks down blushing. It gets super awkward and quiet as they keep walking. Looks like Dean's going to have to get used to having a protective big bro. When they get home, their grandpa is a nervous wreck. He's telling Jin to just relax and eat some fruit, but Jin insists on doing the dishes. Grandpa doesn't really know what to do, so he just lets Jin take over. As Jin is washing the dishes, Grandpa asks if dinner was all right, saying he's not the best cook. Jin just plays it cool and tells Grandpa not to worry about it. He says the food's been awesome, and he's enjoyed everything. The old man looks super relieved to hear that. You can tell he's really happy. Grandpa then asks Dean if she liked the food, too, and she nods. Then Grandpa changes the subject and asks Jin about his first day of school, wanting to know if anything cool happened. Jin hesitates for a second, looking a little nervous to answer. Dean gets a little anxious, too, thinking about how crazy the day was. But after a beat, Jin just says it was a good day. Grandpa's face totally lights up when he hears this, looking super relieved and happy. Later that night, when everyone's in bed, Jin is still awake. He's thinking back to when his grandpa first saw him again, and he remembers how happy the old man was. Living with his grandpa and sister for a bit has started to melt Jin's cold heart. Then he starts thinking about the plane crash. All the passengers were panicking, oxygen masks dropping down. While everyone else was scrambling, Jin's parents were just focused on getting his mask on so he could breathe. It was a terrifying day. Right as he remembers the plane starting to fall, Jin snaps awake, jumping out of bed and breathing hard from the nightmare. His heart is pounding, but then he realizes it was just a dream. He looks at his clock and sees it's morning. While he's sitting there, he hears noises from the living room. He gets up and goes to check it out and finds his sister making breakfast. He asks where their grandpa is. She tells him that grandpa already left for work super early. She explains that he took some time off just to be there when Jin got back, but his vacation days are over now, so he had to go back. She gets into her uniform and gets ready to leave. She tells Jin that breakfast is on the table and makes sure he knows to eat. After she leaves, Jin just looks at all the food she left out for him. Back at school, we see the bully girl with the blonde one, Jin. Turns out, who Jin found out that the new transfer student is Dion's brother. The bully girl nervously says, yeah, it's true. She starts thinking about what happened with Jin and gets freaked out, remembering how he took down two of her friends with just one punch. Jin asks why she's so scared, but the bully girl is just frozen, too terrified to say anything. Honestly, I'm tired of calling her the bully girl. So from now on, let's just call her Chicken Shake. Jin keeps bugging Chicken Shake about what went down. Finally, Chicken Shake gets a grip and says they should probably stop messing with Dion. That death stare Jin gave her is still stuck in her head, and she can't forget it. Even though she's scared, she tries to tell herself it's all good cause Jin and her brother are the top dogs at school, and nobody messes with them. A little later, we see Dion again, and what do you know? She gets smacked hard on the head, just like always. She turns around and sees Jin and Chicken Shake together, ready to give her a hard time again. Don asks them what they want now. Jin just tells her to come with them. When Dion asks where, the cocky blonde gets pissed off. She snaps at Don to stop acting tough and just do what she's told if she doesn't want to get hurt. She also says that having a brother doesn't change anything. Next thing you know, we're at the school's recycling area and Dion is getting totally pummeled by the cocky blonde. After landing a few kicks, the blonde tells Dion to stay down. Dion is trying to breathe and asks why she's even getting beat up. That's when Jin brings up her brother. She tells Don to warn her brother to stop acting so tough and full of himself. She makes it clear that what happens next to her brother isn't their problem because he's about to have a really bad time. Don is confused and asks if they're going after her brother now. Jin says, yep, and reminds her that the two guys Jin beat up are friends with her own brother. Since Dion and her brother messed with them, they're not getting away with it. It's like poking a bear. Hearing this, Dion's face goes completely white. She screams at the two thugs, asking what they're going to do to her brother. For that, she gets a hard slap right across the face. The slap leaves a mark, but that pain is nothing compared to how bad she feels knowing her brother is in danger. Dion grits her teeth, pulls herself together, and just bolts out of there, leaving the two thug women behind. The scene switches back to the third-year classroom. You can feel the tension in the air. Even the regular bullies are being quiet. Everyone's nervous because the school's biggest bully just walked in with his crew, and it looks like things with Jin are about to blow up. But Jin, he's just sitting there, cool as a cucumber. The two guys who got wrecked yesterday are there too, walking with their boss. And behind them is the biggest bully of them all, the top dog. Right then, like it's planned, Dion bursts into the classroom. She's out of breath, her face is bruised, and her uniform is all dirty. Jin jumps up from his seat, his eyes wide with shock when he sees his sister's beaten-up face and messed-up uniform. The bully boss starts talking trash, making fun of how worried Jin's sister is about him. He points out that his own sister, Jin, just whines and nags him to do stuff for her all the time. Jin then walks up and tells her brother she'll only feel bad for him when he actually gets his butt kicked. Meanwhile, Jin is just frozen, totally horrified to see his sister all bruised up. But before we see what he does, the scene flashes back to earlier that morning when students were just getting to class. We see poor Yong-chan looking terrified as two guys use his head for target practice. Jae Hyung is all proud of himself for a direct hit and starts bragging to his buddy about it. Jin gets annoyed and demands a kid nearby to give him his eraser. The shy student hands it over and Jin grabs it. He winds up and throws it with all his strength, nailing Yong-chan right in the head. He does a little happy dance for landing a perfect shot, but Jae-hyung tries to downplay it, saying it was just luck. The two of them go back and forth, trying to one-up each other's headshot game. Jae-hyung decides to go again, swinging his arm like a maniac to chuck the eraser at poor Yong-chan. But surprise, Jin steps in the way and the eraser hits him in the side instead. The two bullies are pissed about being interrupted and the eraser just drops to the floor. Jin then just sits down in his seat next to a terrified Yong-chan. The redhead is obviously getting ticked off, feeling like Jin is starting to get on his nerves. Jin decides they need to go teach Jin a lesson for getting involved, and the redhead is all for it. Meanwhile, Jin just puts his bag down and asks Young-chan if he's okay. The poor guy mumbles that he's fine, but you can tell by how pale he is that he is definitely not fine. Young-chan just leans in towards Jin to avoid looking at the bullies and asks if he wants to hang out after school. Jin says he can't because he has to walk home with his sister. The shy kid seems interested and asks if his sister transferred with him. Jin says no. She was already going to school here. When Young-chan asks for her name, Jin tells him it's Dion. Young-chan is pretty shocked to hear that. Jin totally notices his reaction and asks if he knows her. At first, Young-chan doesn't want to say anything, but then he admits that Dion is having a rough time at school. He explains that back in middle school, she was super popular because she was smart and pretty, so a lot of guys liked her. But then this blonde girl named Hui Jin got jealous and started bullying her. Jin asks if anyone ever tried to stop it. Young-chan says that the bully, Hui Jin, has a brother named Gizu Kim, and he's one of the biggest troublemakers in the whole school. What's even worse, Dion is in the same homeroom as Hui Jin. She gets bullied so bad that all the other students are surprised she even shows up to school anymore. Jin connects the dots and figures out that Hai Jin started picking on his sister just because some guy liked her. But Young-chan sadly explains that was just an excuse. Hai Jin was just looking for someone to bully. Jin's mind flashes back a few days. His grandpa was hoping that Jin would have an easy time fitting in at the new school. Their grandpa turned to Dawn and asked if she was doing okay in school too. Back then, sweet little Dion promised her grandpa that everything was great, never letting on that she was getting bullied every single day. Her grandpa praised her, saying Dion is a great student and that her teachers always say good things about her. Back in the present, Jin realizes his sister was just faking it, hiding everything so their grandpa wouldn't worry. Just then, one of the rowdy bullies kicks the door open and the whole gang of them just strolls into the classroom. Hyak Jin immediately asks the gang what they're doing in their class. Ji-soo Kim, one of the top dogs of the whole school, just says he's there to take care of something. Huk Jin is surprised to see Ji-soo and has no idea what to do. See, Huk Jin is a total small fry. He can handle the other bullies, but he knows better than to mess with Ji-soo Kim. Meanwhile, Ji-soo's lackey point out Jin. When Ji-soo sees him, he starts screaming at his guys, pissed that they got beat up by some scrawny little punk. He tells his lackey to back off and then flicks a finger at Jin, telling him to come here. Jin stands up right away. The redhead and Hyak Jin are totally confused, wondering what Jin did to get on Gas's bad side. They're both thinking he's completely screwed now. But Jin just stands there and asks if Go is the one in charge. The real big shot. Gasu just smirks, finding it funny that it took Jin this long to figure out who runs the show. He turns to one of his lackeys and tells him to stop standing there like an idiot and do something. You can see the lackey is terrified, but he slowly starts walking towards Jin. But before the fight can start, Dion bursts into the room totally out of breath. And that brings us back to the present with Jin staring at his beaten-up sister. Tears start rolling down Dion's face as she apologizes to Jin for getting him into this mess. Meanwhile, Ho Jin scoffs at the tears and calls her a total drama queen, but Jin tells his sister she did nothing wrong. Before she can say anything else, he just snaps. He slaps the lackey so hard that the guy hits the floor out cold. The other bullies who've seen Jin fight before start shaking. With one guy down, Jin turns to his sister and says that these guys are the ones who should be saying sorry. The fatty runs at Jin with his fist ready, but Jin just pushes his arm away like it's nothing. He sees an opening at the guy's throat and hits him with a quick brutal chop like a ninja. The bully starts coughing and choking before he just collapses. The last lackey, shaking like a leaf, tries to throw a punch at Jin. Jin hits him with a nasty shot to the ribs and super fast sends him to the ground too. Meanwhile, Giz's confidence is finally starting to lose its confidence. Watching Jin take down his crew like they're a bunch of nobodies. The local wannabe bullies in the class just stand there with their eyes wide, completely blank. Even Hoi Jin and Chicken Shake are freaking out, totally losing their cool. After dropping the last two guys, Jin turns to Gizu and tells him that his sister has been suffering because of these thugs, and he's not going to let it slide. Gizu finally says something, smirking and admitting that Jin isn't a pushover. Then with a smirk, Gizu throws a super fast kick at Jin's head. But Jin blocks it easily, which leaves Gizu totally stunned. He didn't think Jin would be that quick. So Gizu throws another kick with his other leg, and Jin blocks that one just as easily. Jin grabs Gizu's leg, yanks him in close, and punches him right in the face. The punch sends blood flying as Gizu hits the floor like a rag doll. His nose and mouth are bleeding, and he looks up in total horror at Jin, who's standing over him like the freaking Death Reaper. Without even hesitating, Jin kicks the bastard right in the face, and even more blood goes flying. The guy who was acting all tough and cocky is now on the ground, totally defeated and humiliated. The whole class goes dead silent. Everyone's eyes wide in shock as they watch Jin take out one of the biggest bullies in a single move. The two beta bullies are just staring with their jaws on the floor, unable to believe that Jin just wrecked a major player like Gizu so easily. The girls are just as freaked out, especially the blonde one. She's stunned, wondering if Jin is really that strong. Jin starts walking towards Hoi Jin, who's terrified she's about to get smacked and get the same beat down. But before he can do anything, Diane runs over and begs her brother to stop. Jin reminds her that Hoi Jin and her crew have been messing with her for a long time, and that he knows they came after her yesterday too. Diane's face just drops when she realizes he knows the truth, and she looks down without saying anything. Then it hits her that Jin is doing all this for her. So she forces a smile and tells him she's fine and that he should just stop. Her brother thinks about it for a second, but finally agrees and decides to walk her to her class. As they leave, the whole room starts whispering, unable to believe that Gizu, the top dog, got taken down by one guy. Even the beta bullies have to admit that Jin is hardcore, and they're super relieved they didn't try to fight it before. While everyone's talking, the blonde girl is just shaking, a mix of scared and humiliated, not able to deal with the fact that they lost. Meanwhile, Jin and Diane are walking together, and she's saying how shocked she is that he's so good at fighting, but then she starts saying sorry again. Jin is confused and asks her what she's apologizing for. Diane explains that it's her fault he got pulled into all this drama. She feels bad about the fights he had to get into both yesterday and today. Jin just gives her a warm smile and tells her not to apologize for anything. That's what family is for, protecting each other. He then starts explaining that where he used to live, it was every man for himself. People didn't care what happened to anyone else, as long as they were okay. But even those selfish people were different when it came to their own families. And that's when we get a flashback to a crazy battlefield with smoke and explosions everywhere. You can hear guns and bombs going off all around. In the middle of all this chaos, we see a younger Jin. He spots an enemy soldier trying desperately to save his own little daughter, using his body to shield her from a guy pointing a gun right at them. Even with all the violence, seeing that soldier risk his life for his kid really stuck with Jin. It made him wonder what family really means and why it's such a big deal. Back in the present, Diane points out that he barely even remembers her, so why is he trying so hard to help? Jin agrees that he doesn't remember much, but says that doesn't matter. They're still family. She just stands there quietly, and as his words sink in, she starts to get a little embarrassed. She quickly tells him she's fine, and he should get back to his own class. She says they're already at her classroom, gives him a quick wave goodbye, and disappears inside, leaving Jin with a little smile. Back in his classroom, everyone is still talking about Jin, and he's feeling kind of awkward with all the attention. The beta bullies give him a thumbs up and ask him what they taught him overseas because he destroyed those noobs like they were nothing. They keep piling on the praise, but Jin just sinks into his chair, looking a little overwhelmed. Even his friend, Young Chun, chimes in and says he was awesome, which makes Jin crack a small smile. Meanwhile, we cut to the defeated goons who are all feeling pretty stressed after getting embarrassed like that. Their boss is still super mad, complaining that there's something different about Jin, that he doesn't fight like a normal third-rate thug. His sister tries to cheer him up, telling him to stop pouting and saying it was just a fluke. She says Jin just caught them by surprise and that they should get him later. But the other bullies are quiet because they now know that Jin is a total powerhouse and not someone you mess with. But the blondie reminds him that he's just one guy and they can't let some random dude beat them. Her brother finally tells her to shut up, saying that if she wants to fight so bad, she can go fight the guy herself if it's so easy. Of course, Hoi Jin doesn't like that and snaps back that he shouldn't take it out on her just because some rando handed him his but on a platter. Her brother is totally furious. You can tell Hoi Jin's words really got to him. He's seething because, let's be real, she's telling the truth and it hurts. Wei Jan gives him one last glare, her eyes getting teary because she's so frustrated with how her brother is acting. She quietly turns around and slams the door on her way out. As she's stomping down the hall, Chicken Shake runs up to catch her. Meanwhile, the blondie is still absolutely fuming. She's super frustrated that all those bullies couldn't even take on one guy. She slams the classroom door open and storms in. When she sees Dun sitting there, she asks her if she's feeling lucky now that she has a brother. She points out how Di-hun can probably just waltz into school now without a worry and run to her big bro if anything goes wrong. Day doesn't say anything back, which just pisses Hoi Jin off even more. She thinks Di-hun is giving her the cold shoulder now that she has her brother to protect her. Hai Jin grits her teeth and makes it clear she's not going to let Dijun get away with anything just because she has a brother. As it starts to get dark, the students head home. We see our girl in the crowd, looking kind of down. She's just thinking, remembering when her brother stood up for her and fought those thugs. She remembers him saying they were family and wonders if that means she can finally stop worrying about being bullied at school. She starts thinking about how miserable things were with Hoi Jin, how she was always getting bossed around and had to do whatever she said like a faithful dog. Every time she tried to stand up for herself, she just gets slapped. All of a sudden, her brother shows up behind her and asks if something's wrong. She's totally startled, but he tells her he already called her name a few times and she didn't answer. His sister quickly apologizes, saying she didn't hear him, and then asks if he was waiting for her again. He nods and says, yeah, because he still doesn't know the way home. So, they start walking home together, talking about getting some groceries since their grandpa is always starving when he gets home late. As they're walking, that rowdy is standing behind them. She looks completely furious and just can't stand seeing our girl smiling. This is just waiting for the right moment to wipe that smile right off Dean's face. Next thing we know, the two of them are shopping in a store. The girl is having a hard time deciding what to buy, and other people in the store are staring at them. All the girls in the store are staring at our guy, and Day can't help but notice all the attention he's getting from the ladies. She knew he was popular at school, but apparently he stands out everywhere. Just out of curiosity, Dean finally asks her brother if he ever had a girlfriend when he was living abroad. The question totally catches him off guard, and he looks like he's never even heard the word girlfriend before. Seeing how confused he is, Dion explains she means like a girl he was dating. He just says he's never had one, which makes his sister say he should think about it, especially since girls are drawn to him like a magnet. He's quiet for a second, then says he's always been too busy for a girlfriend. Dihun gets it, especially since he's been busy getting used to a new country. That's when he flips the question on her and asks if she's ever had a boyfriend. The question catches her by surprise, and she quickly says she's never had one either. When he asks why, she just says she's been busy too. When they get home, we see their grandpa gave our guy a new Samsung Galaxy phone. He's a little bummed because he wanted an iPhone. Grandpa quickly schools him, saying iPhones have terrible battery life and that a Samsung is better, especially since every other kid has an iPhone. It's a funny little dig, like having a Samsung will make him unique. Day, on the other hand, is super excited because she wanted a Galaxy phone and she can tell it's the newest one. Our guy starts messing with the phone, and their grandpa tells them he already put his and Dion's numbers in it. Day is surprised her grandpa did that himself since she's usually the one who helps him with tech stuff. Grandpa quickly explains that the salesperson helped him out. He adds with a smile that he heard young people love unboxing stuff themselves, so he hoped our guy wouldn't mind that he opened it to save the numbers. Jin just says he's totally cool with it. Then Grandpa apologizes to Day, saying the store only had one left, so he couldn't get her one. Day tells him it's no big deal. They all end up having a great dinner, just talking and enjoying being a family. Later that night, our guy is still messing with his new phone and is really starting to get into the whole Galaxy thing. He starts thinking that maybe Samsung phones aren't so bad and might even be better than iPhones. The scene then cuts to Major Kong, who's working on his computer when his phone rings. It's Jin calling to tell him he has a new phone and a new number. The Major is a little surprised by this. The junior officer behind him even asks if Major Kong didn't already give Jin a phone, and the Major says he did. That's when he gets tomato red with anger. He points out that he gave Jin the most expensive iPhone they had. So, he's pretty furious that Jin already replaced it. The next morning, Jin gets out of the shower and sees his sister rushing out the door in her uniform. Before she can leave, Jin asks why she's taking off so early. She just says she's running late and bolts out of there. She also yells that dinner is all ready and he just needs to put the dishes in the sink. As she's running down the street, she checks her phone and is relieved she's going to make it on time. She was late because she made soup for their grandpa, but seeing him smile when he ate it was totally worth it. She's just happy she could do something nice for him. But her happy moment gets cut short when someone kicks her hard in the ribs, knocking her to the ground. 3 girls in hoodies and masks are standing over her, hiding who they are. The one in front tells Dion to watch where she's going and says she almost broke her ankle. It's obvious they're just trying to start a fight. They demand that Dion apologize for what she supposedly did. The poor girl just quickly nods and says she's really sorry. But the rowdy leader isn't happy with that and slaps Dion across the face, telling her to apologize like a whimpering dog. That's when one of the girls, the one with the ponytail, suggests they all go to karaoke to blow off some steam. Another girl agrees, saying they need to relax and have fun. The ponytail girl then crouches down to look Dion in the eye. With a smirk, she invites her to come with them to karaoke, saying they're going to have a blast. As soon as Dion hears her voice, she knows it's Hai Jean Kim, and she's definitely here to make her life hell. Next thing she knows, they're at some sketchy karaoke place. The manager sees the shady-looking girls and gets a bad feeling. A little later, the manager is nervously walking towards their room. He's mumbling to himself about how wild kids are now and wonders what kind of mess they made because all he heard from their room was a bunch of screaming. The manager opens the door and finds Day on the floor, obviously beaten up. Luckily, she's awake and slowly starts to get up. Her hands are shaking as she tries to pick up her stuff. The manager is totally confused by this and tries to call an ambulance, but Dae just says no and stumbles out the door. Meanwhile, back at school, the teacher is taking attendance and sees that Dahan is gone. The other students say she's not there, and everyone is confused because Dean isn't the type to just skip school. In the background, Hyun Kim has a smirk on her face, obviously happy about it. Chicken Shake leans over and asks her if she thinks Dae is okay. Wei Jin just tells her not to freak out, reminding her that Dion being gone has nothing to do with them. Chicken Shake nervously agrees, just playing along like it's true and has nothing to do with them. Finally, the school day ends. As usual, our guy is waiting outside for his sister, but he can't find her anywhere in the crowd. The crowd starts to clear out, and soon it's almost empty, but his sister is still a no-show. He waits a little longer, then pulls out his phone to call her, thinking maybe she went home without him. Meanwhile, she's already home. Her phone is ringing off the hook from his calls, but she just ignores it. Eventually, he just heads home. He immediately sees her sneakers by the door. He takes off his bag, walks up to her room, and knocks softly, asking if she's in there. She quickly answers, and her brother, Jin, is super relieved she's actually home. He asks her what's up, mentioning he even tried calling her, but she didn't pick up the phone. Dihun says she's really sorry, explaining that she must have been asleep. Jin immediately picks up on the weird vibe in her voice and asks if he can pop in for a second. Dae quickly makes up an excuse, telling him she's already in bed because she's feeling sick. Worried, Jin asks if it's anything serious. She assures him it's just a little fever and that she'll be totally fine after some rest. Jin tells her to call him if she needs anything and starts to leave, planning to go buy some medicine for her, but then he suddenly freezes at the door when he spots blood stains on her sneakers. It doesn't take him long to figure out something bad must have happened because blood on your shoes is not exactly a normal sight. As soon as it clicks, he grabs the first aid kit and rushes in her room to take care of her injuries. She flinches as he starts bandaging her bruised face. It's clear Jin still doesn't have the full picture. Dejun tells him she fell down the stairs while trying to dodge a bike, but Jin points out that her injuries look way too severe for a simple accident and asks if she's sure she doesn't want to go see a doctor. She hesitates for a second before insisting she's totally okay. I mean, it makes sense why she wouldn't want to go to the hospital. If she did, they'd know right away her bruises weren't from falling down any stairs. The scene then flashes back to Dian's past, and we're suddenly in the principal's office. Dae is explaining to the principal that she was beaten up by Hai Jin. Hai Jin, however, is flat out denying everything. The cops are involved, too, and Dion keeps insisting that Hai Jin was the one who attacked her. She says that Hai Jin was wearing a mask and a hat, but she recognized her voice and is 100% positive it was her. Besides, Hai Jin has a history of bullying her at school. But then Hai Jin, with a smug little smirk, asks how Dae can blame her when she never even saw her face. The principal asks Dahan if she saw the face of the person who hurt her. Dae says again that the attacker's face was covered, but she is absolutely sure it was Hai Jun. At this point, Hai Jun's mother completely loses it. She angrily accuses Dun of dragging the police into this and treating her daughter like a criminal over a bogus accusation. The principal tries to calm the mom down, but she's not having it and makes it clear she's not going to. Meanwhile, you can see Dian's confidence just crumbling as she realizes no one believes her, even though she knows it was Hai Jin. Even the police officers look doubtful. The mother demands that Dian apologize to her daughter right then and there. But our girl stands her ground, telling the woman that it really was her daughter who assaulted her. The arrogant mother gets even angrier at this and decides she's going to take it up with Dihun's parents. She demands that Dihun get her parents to the school immediately. This just completely breaks Dihun's heart. Tears start streaming down her face, and she can't stop them. All while the villain who hurt her just laughs and walks away without any consequences. Back in the present, she feels like she's trapped in the exact same situation. She feels like it's useless to speak up without any real proof and is dead set on not upsetting her grandfather, who's always been such a great support for her. Suddenly, Jin notices her tense look and puts a hand on her forehead, asking if she's really okay. The girl weakly replies that she's fine. Jin points out that while none of her bones seem to be broken, the bruises are pretty nasty and are going to hurt for a couple of days. She nods, surprised that he's actually really good at this stuff. She can see that the bandages are placed perfectly. Then her expression gets sad as she thinks about their grandfather. She's worried he'll get really upset about everything, especially since he has a weak heart. Jin is pretty surprised to hear this, and she adds that their grandpa is on medication for his heart. Hearing this, Jin promises he'll make sure their grandpa never finds out about any of this and tells her to just focus on getting some rest. As he starts to leave, she calls his name. She gives him a sweet smile and thanks him for everything. And Jin smiles back at her just as warmly. But the second he's out of sight, her smile disappears. She starts wondering if she made the right call by keeping some of the details from him. She's thinking that there's not much a couple of teens like them can really do about the whole thing. As we all know, Jin isn't your average teenager, and I wouldn't be surprised if he already has a pretty good idea who is behind his sister's injuries. Later, the scene cuts to a club where the music is blasting and the place is packed. Right in the middle of the crowd, we see the head bully, Gizu Kim. He looks seriously ticked off as he drinks and laughs with his crew. They're all talking trash about Jin, wondering how one kid could have messed up everything for them. One of the thugs speaks up, reminding them that they lost because they underestimated Jin. He insists they can totally take him out if they just plan it out first. Another goon agrees, saying there's no way they can just let him get away with it. A third guy chimes in that Jin wouldn't stand a chance against all of them at once. Even with all their hype, their boss knows taking Jin down is not going to be a walk in the park. He's still fuming from that embarrassing beatdown, but has no intention of letting it slide. He slams his glass down in frustration, but reluctantly agrees with his lackey. He makes it clear that fighting one-on-one isn't their style, so they'll probably come up with a plan to jump him with overwhelming numbers. The lackey all get these huge, evil grins, clearly excited about the idea. This group of jerks might think they have it all figured out, but they're just a pack of hyenas waiting to get what's coming to them from Jin. Just as they're scheming, Gizu's phone rings. The caller ID reads, "Little bitch." It turns out to be his little sister, and it looks like even Gu agrees with that contact name. Anyway, she immediately starts yelling at him, asking why he's just hanging out at the club. Gizu tells her to get to the point, or he's hanging up. The girl insists he owes her big time. Gizu has no idea what she's talking about. She then brings up how Dihun got roughed up earlier in the day. She tells him they can't let the siblings get away with this, or they'll lose all their power at school. Her brother, looking a bit proud, tells her she did a good job. He then reveals that they're also in the middle of planning some payback for Jin. Just then, someone walks into the club. As the bullies turn to see who it is, they realize it's Jin. He definitely looks like he's there to settle a score. Gizu is absolutely furious to see Jin just casually strolling into his turf, but Jin just keeps walking toward their table, looking totally calm. Gizu then gets a little smug, thinking it's great they don't have to hunt Jin down anymore for their revenge. But Jin isn't there for a friendly chat. Without wasting a single second, he grabs one of the lackeys by the face and slams him hard against the edge of the table. Another lackey charges him, but Jin's hand is a blur, and a single punch shatters all the guy's ribs. The bully leader and his crew can only grind their teeth as they watch their guys get taken down. The rest of the crew rushes at Jin, but our guy stays as cool as a cucumber. As they get close, he kicks one of them down effortlessly, like a total boss. Next, he grabs a guy with purple hair and smashes him down onto the table with a brutal thud. While the purple-haired guy is totally freaking out, Jin isn't finished with him and just slams the dude against the wall like a rag doll. He then makes a fist and lands a massive punch right in the fatty's face. One of the thugs grabs a glass bottle to swing at Jin, but our boy just casually smacks the bottle from his hand and follows it up with a brutal hit to his face, leaving the thug spitting up blood. Another bully tries to charge him from behind, but Jin ducks, grabs his hand, gives it a painful twist, and then delivers a hard slap right across his face. Jin shoves the thug aside and immediately grabs another lackey by the face. He smashes the guy's mug right into his knee, and you can hear a sickening crunch as the thug's nose breaks. With all the thugs knocked out, Gizu is just standing there speechless, completely unable to process what just happened. All this time, his sister is still on the phone, and she starts asking what's going on since she can hear all the chaos. Jin turns to Gizu, and the look in his eyes is so cold it makes Gizu shiver. He asks Gizu if he needs a reminder because last time he checked, Jin already told him to stay away from his sister. Gizu is just mind-blown at how quickly the tables have turned. It's kind of ironic. They try to gang up on Jin only to have their own gang get completely destroyed. Jin fought like an absolute pro and wiped the floor with all of them in just a few seconds. He keeps questioning Gizu, asking what his sister ever did to him. Gizu plays dumb like he has no idea what he's talking about, all while secretly reaching for a glass on the table. He throws the glass at Jin with lightning speed, but Jin just takes a casual step back, letting it shatter against the wall. While he's just standing there, unbothered, Gizu grabs a bottle and swings it at him. Our boy steps back again, dodging the hit, but when Gizu swings the bottle a second time, Jin knocks it out of his hand and counters with a punch that sends the drink inside, splattering everywhere. Gizu tries to throw a punch this time, but our guy hits him with another brutal smack to the bastard's face, making his nose bleed like a faucet. Gizu stumbles backward, gasping for air after the blow, while Jin stays perfectly cool and composed, not even breaking a sweat. Jin then asks this bastard what kind of sick pleasure he gets from messing with a helpless girl. In a last-ditch effort, Gizu grabs a bottle, smashes it, and tries to stab Jin in the chest with the sharp end. But our boy doesn't even flinch. He just slaps Gizu's hand so hard that the broken bottle falls to the floor. Then he grabs Gizu by the throat and squeezes, making him struggle to breathe. Gizu's feet are scrambling as he struggles, and Jin forcefully slams him to the ground. The bastard writhes and squirms, desperately trying to break Jin's iron grip, but our guy isn't letting up. His hand is pressed firmly on Gizu's throat, making sure the once cocky bully knows exactly who's in charge now. Jin then leans in and asks Gizu what he should do with him. Gizu, who's barely conscious after that beatdown, can't even manage to answer. Jin gives him one final warning, making it clear this is the absolute last time he'll let him off easy. He warns him to stay away from his sister and to keep Jin, Gizu's sister, on a leash too. He stresses that if he even hears a rumor about Gizu or Jin bothering his sister again, he'll be back to finish what he started. To really drive the point home, Jin tightens his grip on the bastard's throat, pushing him to the edge of passing out. The bully, now totally desperate, starts squirming and apologizing over and over. After that, Jin finally lets go, leaving Gizu on the floor, gasping for air and coughing violently as he walks away. As Jin heads out of the club, the staff inside just trade nervous looks, not sure what they just witnessed. Meanwhile, Jin and her friend Chicken Shake are walking down the street. Jin gets a really bad feeling and starts to worry that her brother might be in trouble. Right when they get to the club, they hear footsteps coming up the stairs, and there's Jin just casually walking away. Jin is totally thrown and has no idea what to do. She yells for Jin to stop, probably thinking she can act all cool since nobody can prove she was behind what happened today. But Jin doesn't even break his stride. Now Jin's getting seriously freaked out. She starts backing up, but ends up tripping and landing hard on her. But as she's rubbing her shoulder, Jin's phone goes off. He glances at it. It's his grandpa calling. After a short call, he just turns and heads home without another word, leaving everyone behind, wondering what's going on in his head. When Jin gets to the club room, it's a total disaster. Her brother and his crew are all beat up. She immediately lays into him, asking how he let Jin trash him again. But her brother's too worn out to fight back. He just cuts her off and tells her to stay away from Day-High from now on. Jin, not getting how serious this is, keeps arguing, asking what he's even talking about. That's when her brother, looking totally done, finally snaps. He grinds his teeth and screams at her to leave our boy's sister the hell alone. But Jin doesn't let up, yelling back and asking why he's so scared of that bastard. That's the final straw. Her brother's eyes go wild with fury. He tells her straight up that if she doesn't back off from Dahayan, he'll personally mess her up. Man, this family has a messed up way of handling things. It's crazy how they talk about hurting each other so casually. Jin is pretty rattled by her brother's threat and starts to cry. We cut back to our boy who meets up with his grandpa again. They find a bench in the park to sit on. First thing, Grandpa says sorry for dragging our boy away from his friends, but he says it's no big deal. The old man then looks pretty down, bringing up how Dahan got hurt and that our boy was the one who patched her up. Our boy says, yeah, and the grandpa explains her injuries are bad, but she won't go to the hospital. He talks about how hard it was to raise Day-High alone. He admits he never really knew how to take care of a little girl and was always working just to keep food on the table. And he's just so thankful she's grown up so well, mostly by herself. Looking back on it all, Grandpa feels like Dahayan gave him way more than he ever gave her. He lost it all in that accident. And after the plane crash took everything, Dahayan was the only reason he kept going. It kills him to see her hurting like this and not even telling him why. He wonders if she thinks he's just too old to get it. He mentions how people say kids grow apart from their parents as they get older, so it must be even tougher for her to open up to her old grandpa. But our boy jumps in and tells the old man he's totally overthinking it. He points out that it's obvious how much Grandpa loves Dahayan, and he's positive she loves him back just as much. He tells Grandpa to stop worrying and promises to look after her at school. Hearing that, the old man finally looks a bit relieved, genuinely happy that Dahayan has someone like a brother looking out for her. The scene switches over to the Omnia Medical Examination Center. Inside, we see Gizu all patched up from his injuries. He's getting chewed out by his father, who's super disappointed in him. His dad doesn't mince words, telling Gizu he deserved everything he got as he says, play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. His mom, who's a real piece of work, starts screaming at her husband. She can't believe their son is in the hospital, and that's all he has to say. She tells him to go find the brute who did this and yell at him instead. She also points out that the same brute busted Hyjin's arm, too. Honestly, it's a real mess. Hyjin is to the point that she even pinned the blame of her own mishap on our boy. We all know that she tripped and banged up her shoulder, but instead of taking responsibility, she's blaming him for everything. The angry father finally calms down and lets out a deep sigh. The concerned mother tells her son to just focus on resting and recovering. As they start to leave, the mother grumbles about making the kid who hurt their son pay if she ever gets her hands on him. Once they're gone, Gizu finally asks his sister why she had to tell their parents everything. He explains that by doing so, she's just made things worse for him. He feels humiliated that people will think he ran to their parents like a whining brat after getting beaten up. His sister then asks how she was supposed to hide the fact that her brother was in the hospital and that her arm was broken. Gizu gets pretty ticked off and demands to know if Jin was the one who did this to her arm. She remembers how she tripped and fell, but she doesn't mention that to him. Instead, she just says that Jin was responsible. It's messed up how she's shifting the blame so shamelessly. She then quickly stands up and tells him to just stay here and get better. She says she'll make sure they realize once and for all who they're dealing with. Gizu sits there unsure if they should mess with our boy again. Meanwhile, we're back with their parents. The woman reveals that she's just spoken to Mr. Cha, but her husband asks why she's complicating things and tells her to let the school handle it. The woman responds that it's Saturday already and she doesn't want to sit back and twiddle her thumbs waiting for them. She starts yelling, pointing out that the school won't deliver real justice for what was done to their kids, and they'll likely only settle for a suspension or expulsion at best. The husband continues to argue, saying she has no business going to Mr. Cha to handle this personally. The woman reveals that she already knows Mr. Cha and that he's been handling his dirty work for years. Meanwhile, Jin is eavesdropping and feeling pretty smug about her mother contacting Mr. Cha. She knows that Mr. Cha is the scary gangster who works for her father, and she's sure this will put an end to those troublemakers once and for all. The scene shifts to a rundown place where a man is fidgeting with his lighter, clearly on edge. Two goons walk by looking pretty disappointed. They grumble about being ordered by their boss to handle some teenage drama, and none of them are thrilled about it. Even the boss himself isn't thrilled about dealing with this kid's squabble. But hey, a job's a job, even if it means wading through a mess of teenage nonsense. The scene flashes back to a time where a luxury Mercedes is zooming down the road. Inside the car, Mr. Cha, the Mafia boss, takes a call from the woman. She fills him in on how her daughter's hand got fractured and her son got beaten up by some teenager. She's insisting that he needs to handle it. Cutting back to the present, Mr. Cha is puffing out smoke from his cigarette, clearly fuming. He's beyond frustrated that he has to deal with this kind of nonsense as well. The scene transitions back to the quarters where our boy is sitting before his computer, still lost in thought about his encounter with the Gizu. He's wondering if these guys are really going to let it go. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. He hears his grandpa arguing with someone at the door. It turns out that the people at their doorstep want to see Jin. The intimidating man outside claims they just want to talk to Jin for a bit. Grandpa, concerned about the late hour, questions what could be so urgent. Our boy steps out of his room, telling his grandpa that he'll be back soon after he hears what they want. Despite Grandpa's reluctance and even his sister's protests, Jin flashes a pleasant smile. He reassures them that he knows these guys and that it's just a quick chat. Nothing to worry about. With that, our boy leaves his concerned grandpa behind. The goons take him to an abandoned construction site, and he wonders who they might be taking him to meet. When they finally arrive, the lackey report to their boss that they've brought the guy in question. The boss remains silent, puffing on his cigarette. The bald lackey reveals that the kid caught on quickly, didn't make a fuss, and just came along. The boss, a bit surprised and pleased, decides to make it quick. He snaps his fingers, and the lackey immediately grabbed their iron bats. One lackey tells his friend to hold our boy's arm, as he'll be the one to dish out the beating. Meanwhile, the boss sighs and decides to text the mother, letting her know that he's taking care of the job. While the boss scrolls through his phone looking for that mother's number, the lackey asks him why our boy had to mess with the kids of Kim family. As soon as our boy hears the mention of kids, he realizes this must be about Gizu Kim. The boss, feeling frustrated and annoyed, pauses his scrolling, deciding he shouldn't call her while our boy is present. However, he looks over at our boy and is intrigued by how unfazed and emotionless he appears. Just as the lackey charges at him, Jin suddenly uses his ninja-like speed. He grabs the bald lackey's hand before he can swing at him and pushes the man toward him, delivering a brutal shoulder smash right to the lackey's face. The boss watches this with his wide-eyed eyes as he witnesses this flawless execution of a move. Meanwhile, the other lackey bat in hand swings at our boy. He ducks, letting the bat swoosh harmlessly over his head. But the lackey tries another swing, but our boy charges at the bat as if it's no big deal, leaving the Mafia boss utterly bewildered. With lightning speed, our boy locks the baseball bat in his arm and delivers a brutal punch right under the lackey's chin. Not stopping there, he follows up with a devastating blow to the lackey's chest. Then with a fierce grip, he grabs the lackey by the neck and throws him down onto the bricks below. The boss watches in shock, clearly impressed and flabbergasted by the sheer skill and audacity of our boy's moves. The bald lackey grabs our boy from behind, threatening him with death. But our boy quickly jabs his shoulder into the lackey's ribs and then delivers a solid shoulder smash to his face, sending him crashing to the ground. Mr. Cha realizes that this kid is no average teenager because his combat skills are exceptional. He finally decides to step in himself. As he strolls forward, he scratches his head, snickering and commenting that he never thought he'd be fighting teenagers at his age. Meanwhile, our boy can tell that even though this man is a mafia boss, he still is a weak sauce because my guy can clearly spot all of the weak spots of this man. As the boss swings a powerful fist at him, Jin effortlessly sidesteps it. The boss then starts a barrage of punches, but our boy dodges each one with ease, making it look like a walk in the park. As they continue their back and forth, our boy quickly sidesteps, but another punch comes straight at him. He blocks the hit, though the heavy force makes him skid backward. The mafia boss sneers, impressed that he managed to block that one as well. Meanwhile, Jin checks his wrist where he took the punch, and his hand winces from the aching pain. He realizes that the mafia boss predicted his movements and delivered the punch with precision. On the other hand, the mafia boss's curiosity has finally peaked, and he asks Jin who he really is. Jin casually replies that he's just a high school student. The boss isn't buying it. In his mind, he figures this kid must have some serious skill and experience to fight like this. Jin takes his stance. With a grin, the boss says he's up for sparring further and balls up his fist to deliver a blow to our boy. Our boy quickly deflects an incoming punch and tries to throw one of his own, but the mafia boss sidesteps it effortlessly. The boss then attempts to attack, but our boy grabs his hand and swings a punch towards his gut. The mafia boss reacts again, causing our boy to end up landing a hit right to his face instead. Mr. Cha is absolutely annoyed after taking that hit right over his face and tries to swing another punch at our boy. Once again, our boy deflects the attack and, locking eyes with his opponent, delivers a brutal blow to his face. He follows this up with a series of powerful punches, knocking Mr. Cha to the ground, leaving him feeling utterly humiliated by a teenager. It's surprising to see a mafia boss who relies more on his fists than on guns. Anyway, once Mr. Cha is defeated, he grins, noticing that our boy doesn't seem rattled at all by the fight. He doesn't know where this kid came from, but he's sure that the Kim family definitely messed with the wrong person. The scene transitions to this agency known as National Assembly Member MB Kim. Inside the building, 2 guards are stationed outside an office. Inside the office, we see Mrs. Kim and Mr. Kim. The woman asks her husband why Mr. Cha hasn't responded yet. She is growing impatient with every passing second. Tells him to call Mr. Cha. Mr. Kim responds that she should just wait as Mr. Cha will call back once he is done dealing with our boy. On the other hand, we also see their daughter who lets out a sigh, and just then the telephone begins to beep. The impatient lady quickly tells her husband to put the call on speaker so she can hear the news herself. Mr. Kim begins by apologizing to Mr. Cha, saying he's sorry for the ridiculous favor his wife asked him to fulfill. But the women, however, continue to argue loudly, insisting that their kids were attacked, so she doesn't understand how it can be called ridiculous. To everyone's surprise, Mr. Cha says that he's the one who should apologize. Mr. Kim asks for an explanation, and Mr. Cha reveals that it seems their children have meddled with the wrong person because Cha himself also had been defeated by our boy. This news rattles Mr. Kim to the core. As far as he knows, Mr. Cha is the best enforcer in the business, and it's unfathomable that he lost to a high school kid. Just then, the office door starts rattling as someone tries to force it open. Both Mr. and Mrs. Kim look anxiously at the door. When it finally cracks open, they see soldiers sprawled on the ground, leaving the husband and wife utterly anxious and alarmed. Even their bratty daughter jumps out of her seat when they see Jin strolling into the room. The door behind him slams shut, leaving their unconscious bodyguards on the other side. Mr. Cha, still on the phone, quickly realizes that Jin has made it into their place. He leans back, letting out a defeated sigh. He's still trying to wrap his head around the fact that he got beaten by a single high school kid. He's now anxious about how to deal with this mess. Inside the room, Jin jumps up from her seat as Mrs. Kim starts yelling at Jin, demanding to know if he's the kid who beat up her children. On the other side, the man at the desk demands to know how Jin managed to get into his office. That is when this stupid woman begins to grit her teeth in frustration because she is pissed that her husband is not overreacting like her. The husband remains calm and composed and asks again, more insistently, how Jin got past the security. Jin just shrugs and casually replies that he simply passed the guards blocking the entrance. Mr. Kim is even more shocked and confused, not understanding how Jin managed to beat Mr. Cha and all the security guards. What bothers him even more is how Jin even found out that he's living here. That woman starts yelling again, telling Jin to stop giving them attitude. She quickly begins dialing the emergency hotline to report Jin, for assaulting her kids and breaking into the office. Meanwhile, Jin feels a sense of pride in her mother's actions. She believes that involving the police is a good move, thinking that even if Jin has impressive fighting skills, the law will take care of him. The arrogant mother tries to intimidate Jin with her threats, claiming she'll call the police or even the district attorney because she thinks Jin has no idea who he's dealing with. Jin, however, remains calm and responds that he has a pretty good idea. He points out that her husband is a second-term assembly member currently running for office. The woman scoffs, asking Jin if he knows so much about their status. Then why did he assault her kids? On the other hand, Jin smugly sneers, feeling satisfied that they've cornered Jin, and faintly tells him that it's game over. The authorities pick up the call, and the lady starts yelling into the phone, demanding that the officers reach Kim's office right away. But before she can say anything more, she falls silent when she hears something unexpected. Apparently, Jin plays the full footage of the karaoke room where Jin and her lackeys assaulted her sister. The undeniable evidence leaves Jin speechless, her eyes widening in shock as if they might pop out of their sockets. Mr. Kim stays silent, feeling utterly devastated. The screams of Dean begging for forgiveness echo through the room as the trashy ladies continue to beat her to a pulp. Seeing the concrete evidence, Mrs. Kim's jaw drops, and she quickly hangs up the hotline saying she'll call them back later. On the other hand, Jin starts yelling at Jin, demanding to know how he got those files. Jin remains silent for a moment, and then the scene flashes back to the outside of the Kim's residence. Inside one of the rooms, Jin is seen sneaking around the house. He opens a laptop and copies all of the data onto a pen drive. In the present, Mr. Kim grits his teeth in frustration, feeling that his kids are a total disappointment. But Jin quickly tries to reassure her father, explaining that she had a good reason for everything. Mr. Kim, however, angrily tells her to shut up. Jin then reveals that he also has files involving Gizu Kim. He explains to the Kims that their children always save videos of their conquests. He states that he has dozens of clips showing their violent behavior, beating up kids at school, extorting money and valuables from their victims, and even the latest clip of his sister being assaulted by a group of girls at karaoke. Jin is shaking like a leaf with all these truth bombs exploding around her. But her mother quickly jumps in to defend her daughter, claiming that our boy is just trying to threaten them and that he won't get away with it. But Jin reminds her that he didn't start this mess, and what he's doing now is hardly a threat compared to hiring a bunch of gangsters to attack him, and makes it clear that he has recorded all of it, too. The father face palms in utter disappointment and asks our boy if he did all this just because his kids assaulted his sister first. Jin responds that as a parent, they have the right to take their children's side at all costs. So, as a brother, he will do whatever it takes to protect his sister as well. The man understands where he's coming from and points out that they'll cover her treatment and offer a hefty settlement to make amends. But our boy makes it clear that this isn't necessary. The father is puzzled and asks what he means by that. He then inquires if Jin would like his kids to apologize to his sister. Hearing her father, Gujun grits her teeth and thinks to herself that she'd rather bite her tongue and bleed to death than apologize. On the other hand, our boy makes it clear that an apology won't undo the time his sister spent in fear and pain. So he insists that if they really want to compensate him, he wants his sister to never have to see Ju or Hooju Kim again. This demand rattles Jin's nerves, but her father quickly agrees, stating that he'll have his kids transfer schools or perhaps even send them abroad to study. Naturally, the mother and daughter let out a piercing scream in protest, but the father quickly shuts them down and turns his attention back to our boy, asking if this would be enough to satisfy him. Our boy states that he wants them gone from the school starting tomorrow. In response, the father says he'll inform the school. And once that's settled, Jin begins to cry, and her tears flow out involuntarily. Just as our boy starts to leave, the father quickly stops him and reminds him that since he agreed to the demands, he'd like our boy to delete all of the videos he found. Our boy shoots the old man a death glare, and the father can tell from the intensity of his eyes that this kind of deadly glare doesn't belong to a high schooler. Jin makes it clear that he's not a fool and then begins to walk away, slamming the office door behind him with a resounding thud. Once outside, he finally heads home. His grandpa rushes to open the door and asks if he's okay, while Dion is seen crying in the background. Jin is startled to see them so worried about him, but he smiles and reassures them that no one hurt him. As he begins to enter the house, the old man points out that the people they encountered seemed dangerous. Jin replies that they just stopped by to talk, nothing more. The sister then mentions that something about those people didn't feel right and that she and Grandpa were very worried. Jin quickly tells her not to worry about anything other than getting better. Jin then hints to his sister that from now on, she'll never have to walk down the stairs again because he's taken care of it. Of course, This doesn't make much sense to her at the moment, but she'll likely figure out what he meant soon enough. The next morning, they head to the school. Once inside, they part ways to go to their respective classes. As Dean enters her classroom, she tries to avoid making eye contact with Hoi-jin. However, her steps falter when she hears students talking about how Hoi-jin won't be coming to school anymore. The entire class buzzes with curiosity about what happened, and one of the girls explains that Hoi-jin and her brother are both going to study abroad. This news hits Dion like a thunderbolt out of blue because her biggest obstacle is finally quitting school. The words Jin had said about taking care of the stairs she had fallen down replay in her mind. She quickly realizes that he must have known about Hoi-jin's transfer all along. Diane rushes out of the classroom in order to talk to him about this. When she finds him and calls out to him, he turns around, but as soon as she tries to speak, she's at a loss for words and remains silent. Jin simply smiles and says, "See you later," leaving Dion to tear up. She manages to reciprocate with a soft, "See you later," before she breaks down, her emotions overwhelming her. A while later, we find ourselves in an apartment where a blonde girl is asking her friends if it's true that Hyun is moving overseas. One of the other girls confirms that it's true, saying she was shocked when she first heard, but has no idea why they're leaving suddenly as Hoi-jin never mentioned anything about moving abroad. The blonde girl then turns to Chicken Shake, who is sitting silently and seems too preoccupied with herself to respond. One of the girls snaps her out of her reverie and asks if she has nothing to say about it. This rattles the timid girl to her core, and the blonde girl asks her directly if Hoi-jin is really moving overseas, figuring that since they're in the same class, Chicken Shake might know more about it. Timidly and nervously, the girl confirms that it's true and that their teacher announced it to the class earlier. The blonde girl then asks if she tried reaching Hoi-jin directly. Chicken Shake admits she did, but Hoi-jin didn't pick up the call. Hearing this, all the girls start to believe it might be true. Meanwhile, Chicken Shake nervously checks her phone, biting her nails in anxiety. The last message she got from Hoi-jin was that her mother was going to take care of our boy. And ever since, Chicken Shake has been freaking out, wondering if Hoi-jin's sudden move has anything to do with him. Just then, Hoi-jin herself arrives in a room looking absolutely furious. The girls are shocked to see her, and Hoi-jin just takes a seat on the sofa, grumbling about how she barely managed to sneak out of the house. The girls ask June if she's really moving overseas. Frustrated, Hoi-jin grabs her head and says it just happened, but she explains she'll be back after one semester. We then flash back into the past where her dad told her to spend a semester abroad, promising he'd sort everything out by the time she gets back because he doesn't want those videos going public either. She keeps this part to herself, though, and the other girls just laugh and tease her, saying she's going to enjoy her vacation. The blonde sneers, clearly annoyed by their attitude. Another girl asks why the sudden move and if Gizu is going too. Hoyen simply says it a family matter and she doesn't need to go into details. The redhead girl then asks about Dion and her brother, curious about how things went and if Gizu managed to beat our boy or not. Hyun tells them not to ask, insisting that Gizu probably has handled the situation already. However, we all know that she just doesn't want to admit that her brother and his lackey got thoroughly defeated by our boy, as it would be too humiliating. She grows even more agitated, thinking about how pleased Dion will be to see her leaving the school. This irritation sparks an idea in her mind, and she decides to mess with Dion one last time, asking her friends to help with her plan. Her friends question whether it's really necessary, and even Chicken Shake jumps in shock and expresses her reluctance. But Hoi-jin insists they should consider how cocky Dawn will be without anyone to bully her. She plans to deal with Dion before she leaves Korea, wanting to make sure she gets her revenge. Chicken Shake grows increasingly anxious and terrified as Hoi-jin continues to reveal her twisted plan. Hui-jin gets cocky, boasting that Diane's grandpa is a security guard somewhere, and she plans to have her mom get him fired. She believes this will teach Dion a lesson not to mess with anyone from the Kim family. This is seriously messed up. Dion is just an innocent girl, and Hui-jin's plotting is enough to make anyone sick. But before this trash woman can act on her disturbing thoughts, her face goes pale when she sees a figure standing before her cloaked in a hoodie with a mask over their face. It doesn't take long for her to recognize that it must be Jin. However, Jin pulls a classic Uno card move and asks her who Jin is, questioning how she can be so sure when he's wearing a mask and she can't see his face. He casually explains that he's just here to check if everyone's having a good time and is quite pleased to see that everyone from the karaoke room video is present. One of the girls starts trembling and asks what he's talking about. That's when the boy reminds them he's referring to the place where they all filmed his sister getting beaten up. Hu-jin's face turns ashen as she realizes he might have been there waiting all along just to mess with her. Chicken Shake is visibly sweating and trembling, clearly aware of what might come next. The other two girls just sit there utterly silent. The boy starts to shut the door, asking why no one's singing since he thought everyone here loved to scream along to loud music. With that, he slams the door shut, leaving us with no clue about what he might do next. The scene takes us to the hospital where the Kim family is gathered. The father in by Kim is clearly annoyed, asking where Jan went. Her brother explains that she stepped out to say goodbye to her friends. In-B's irritation grows as he asks why she left when she was supposed to stay put until they had everything sorted out. Just then, a guy bursts into the room, quickly turning on the TV and telling his master he needs to see what's going on. On the screen, it's clear that our boy has already made the videos of what Jin did go viral. The footage is spreading fast, and the situation is quickly becoming a public spectacle. The entire Kim family falls silent as they watch the news. The reporter continues to drop bombshells, revealing that there are dozens of violent videos circulating with many more incidents likely unrecorded. Civic groups and politicians are now proposing a special bill to bring the culprits to justice. Gizu starts to lose his composure, and the reporter adds that the nation is especially appalled by the revelation that the culprits are the children of candidate In by Kim. It's clear that the father is in deep trouble, and it's all thanks to his outrageous wife who pushed everything to this point. Given Jin's plan to make our grandpa jobless, it seems they're getting exactly what they deserve. We cut back to our boy being grilled by Mr. Cha, who demands to know why he went ahead with his plan when he had already come to terms with the Kim family. Our boy's mind flashes back to the past, where we find him learning all about the Kim family's deep political connections. He reveals that it was highly unlikely everything would have gone smoothly, so he did what he felt had to be done. In the present, he admits he did not honor the agreement they had. Mr. Cha questions whether he really thinks the Kim family would just let him walk away. Our boy confidently asserts that he's probably the last thing on their minds right now. It seems our boy might be right. The reporter continues to drop more bombshells, revealing recent evidence of In Kim's involvement in money laundering, bribery, and election fraud. The evidence is so damning that even his fellow party members are calling for a strict investigation, with everyone trying to cut ties to avoid any damage to their party. As soon as Mr. Kim hears this, he slumps down on the bed like a lifeless doll. Back with Mr. Cha. He seems to suspect that our boy has dug up some data about his past as well. And Cha does not want to get exposed to the law, just like the Kim family. So he quickly asks who our MC really is. Our boy responds, simply saying he's just an average teenager. Mr. Cha smirks at this ridiculous remark, noting that nothing about Jin is average. The scene shifts to the classroom where the girls are feeling anxious and blushing as they see Jin. They whisper among themselves, trying to muster the courage to approach him and ask him something, but everyone remains too shy to make a move. As Jin sits lost in thought, his phone rings. It's Diane letting him know that she can walk home by herself today and telling him to take a break and hang out with his friends. Jin is puzzled by the concept of hanging out and wonders how to go about it. Just then, one of his friends, Young Chan, pops up and greets him. As Young Chan sits down, he asks if he is busy today. Our boy remains silent, which prompts Young Chan to remember that Jin always walks his little sister home, so he must be busy after school. But not surprisingly, Jin tells his friend that he's actually free today. Young Chan's face lights up with happiness, and they plan to hang out after school. However, Young Chan's enthusiasm quickly fades when he hears an unpleasant voice. As the scene zooms out, we see these two beta bullies of the class step forward. They both reveal that they've heard the news and know that Jin is the reason Gizu Kim is moving abroad. Young Chan is totally shocked by the news, and the other students lounging around are equally caught off guard. The bullies spill the beans that even though Gizu and his sister were all set to move abroad, they're stuck now because their whole family's in hot water after the info leak. Our boy jumps in to set things straight, telling the bullies they've got it all wrong. But Jae-hung chimes in saying, there's no need for modesty because everyone knows our boy trashed Gizu and his crew at their hideout a couple of days ago. Huge Jin backs him up, explaining that Jin took them all out by himself. And now everyone's saying Gizu is too embarrassed to show his face at school. He's itching to hear just how badly our boy must have beaten Gizu to make him leave the country altogether. Young Chan is finally convinced that Jin is actually a skilled fighter, that his performance that day wasn't just luck. Huge Jin leans in and says, now that they won't have to deal with that jerk anymore, he's itching to throw a party, so he invites our boy to celebrate after school today. Young agrees, adding that they've been to class for days without really spending time together, and he suggests they show our boy around the area, but our guy flatly turns them down, saying he already has plans for today. Naturally, the bullies are puzzled and ask what he's up to. With a pleasant smile, Jin replies that he's planning to hang out with Young Chan. That's when Jae-hung starts creeping in with his disgusting grin, leaning toward Young Chan and saying he'll join their hangout. Hukshin also leans closer to the terrified guy and expresses his desire to join in as well. After forcefully making Young-chan agree, they start to walk away, saying they'll meet up later. Our boy quickly asks his friend if he really wants to let these goons join in, and the poor guy stutters a positive response with a pale face. The teacher finally arrives in the classroom, and she's brought along 2 transfer students. One of them is a plain-looking guy, but the real standout is a stunning beauty with striking black hair. Young-chan's eyes immediately light up at the sight of her, and our boy quickly asks if he knows who they are. Young-chan explains that everyone knows this girl. She's Yona Sin, and her grandpa owns SW Corporation, the biggest company in Korea. The guy next to her is Sayok Juko, and there are rumors that he's been with her since they were kids and is seen as her associate and bodyguard. The teacher notes that since everyone's familiar with these 2, she won't waste time on introductions. She reveals that both of them have been studying in the US for the past 2 years and will be joining the class starting today. The Betalakis don't seem too thrilled about these 2 newcomers in the classroom. With just Jin before, their chances to rule the classroom were slim to none. But now, with these 2 around, they're not so sure they can even think about bullying anyone. Meanwhile, Young-chan was curious about the 2 extra desks in the class, but it's clear now who they're for. He can't help but think Yona looks even more stunning than he remembered. Even the students in the class can't keep their eyes off her. As Siaku behind the lady walks forward, he could not help but notice our boy, and their eyes lock for a moment. Yona too can't resist, but glances at him while she is walking past him. Once both of the newcomers take their seats, Seoju tells Yona that our boy wasn't in the evaluation report he received a week ago, and he wants to double-check. Yona is intrigued and glances at our boy once more, and we can tell she is clearly curious about him. Our boy notices Yona glancing at him, and when he looks back, he finds her smiling. However, he just turns his gaze away again, which seems to irritate her since she didn't get a reciprocating smile. Meanwhile, Young-chan continues their conversation and asks if he has any particular place he wants to go. Jin says he's okay with anywhere. So, Young-chan suggests hitting the game room. Well, it seems like the word gaming room triggers some memories for our boy, while his friends explain that it's nearby and just upgraded their PCs. That's when we flash back to the past, where we hear the authoritative tone of a senior telling a group of soldiers that they will begin today's portion of their practical life training program. He explains that there is one thing every Korean teenager must know, and that's the gaming room. This is the first time our boy has heard about the gaming room. The senior further explains that gaming rooms offer personal computers for a fee, and both students and adults can use them. Curious, our boy asks what people do there. The senior explains that while some users browse the internet or watch X-rated videos, most people are there to play games. For the average high school student, over 90% are playing some kind of computer game. The senior then introduces some of the